Gentlemen, let me begin with a truth that may sting, but it's one you deserve to hear straight. If you've been relying on magnesium pills at night, hoping they would restore your energy, repair your sleep, or even revive your confidence in the bedroom, you've been misled. Magnesium is not the magic bullet. For many older men, it does little to nothing. And in some cases, it may even be quietly holding you back from the strong, reliable erections you thought had vanished forever. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, a urologist and men's health physician with more than 3 decades of experience guiding men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond back to the vitality they thought had been buried under age. Over the years, I have sat across from thousands of men who carried the same heavy mix of embarrassment, frustration, and a fragile spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, they weren't finished. And I can tell you with certainty, when the right science is applied, that hope can become reality. Here's the paradox. The supplement that has been most loudly promoted, magnesium, is not what revives masculinity. The real key lies in two overlooked nutrients, two simple allies almost no one talks about. Taken at the right time in the right way, they can reignite testosterone, restore circulation, and bring back the firm, lasting erections that define strength and manhood. Even if it's been years since you felt alive in your own body, the potential is still there. And when you rise in the morning with energy, with clarity, with strength, it's not a dream. It's your biology finally working with you, not against you. Imagine this: you wake after a deep night of rest. The sun spills through the blinds, and for the first time in decades, your body greets the day with power instead of fatigue. That is what I've seen happen time and again when men finally replace what they've been missing. We're not talking about gimmicks, not talking about tricks, but about predictable, natural results. And before we go deeper, I'll also reveal something you need to avoid: 3 common supplements that should never, under any circumstances, be taken at night. They silently sabotage testosterone, wreck your sleep, and undo the progress you deserve. But right now, before we dive in, I need you to take one small step with me. If you're serious about reclaiming your energy, your drive, and your dignity, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a lesson made specifically for men over 60. And let me ask you directly, if this message speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 0. That way I'll know what you need most, and together we'll build a library of solutions that truly serve you. And there's one more thing. If you believe in the power of taking action, press the like button right now. Do it not for me, but for yourself. When you press it, my wish for you is this: may your mornings greet you with clarity and strength instead of fog. May your evenings be filled with peace, laughter, and the quiet pride of a man who knows he's still capable. And may your confidence return so fully that your family and loved ones see the man they've always admired standing tall again. Gentlemen, it starts here. Tonight's routine can shape tomorrow's strength. So let's go straight into the truth about weak erections, why they are not about age at all, but about something far more fixable: deficiency. Gentlemen, when most men over 60 first sit down across from me, they sigh and look down at the floor. With a voice heavy with resignation, they tell me, "Doc, I guess this is just what happens when you get old." I stop them right there, because that belief that weak erections are simply the price of age is one of the greatest lies men have ever been sold. Erections are not a calendar problem. They are not a punishment for the birthdays you've celebrated. They are a signal, a warning light on the dashboard of your body that something essential is missing. When your body struggles to perform, it is rarely because the years have stripped away your manhood. Far more often, it is because your system has run out of the raw materials it needs to keep the machinery running. Think of it this way: if your car fails to start, you don't immediately assume the car is too old. You check the fuel tank, you look for the missing piece: a spark plug, a battery. The vital connection that makes the whole engine roar to life. Your body is no different. Erections depend on a balance of hormones, blood flow, and nutrients. And when that balance breaks, when the fuel tank runs low, the engine sputters no matter how hard you press the pedal. I've had the privilege of working with men who built families, businesses, and legacies. Men who swung hammers, commanded boardrooms, or fought wars. And yet, they whisper the same fear, that they are less of a man because of what happens or doesn't happen in the bedroom. What breaks my heart is not that their bodies falter. It's that they believe this decline is inevitable when in truth the problem is repairable. I remember one gentleman, Samuel, a 69-year-old former carpenter. He told me he hadn't woken up with a firm erection in nearly 6 years. He avoided intimacy, convinced his wife no longer cared. But when I asked her privately, her eyes filled with tears. She had been waiting, hoping he would return to her not just physically but emotionally. His lab tests revealed something glaring: severely low vitamin D and zinc, both of which are cornerstones of testosterone and circulation. Once we corrected those deficiencies, the change was almost immediate. Within weeks, Samuel was waking up with strength he thought he would never feel again. He walked into my office with a grin that spoke louder than words. This story is not rare. Again and again, I run tests and see the same picture: vitamin deficiencies, low testosterone, weak circulation. A trifecta of missing fuel that strips away vitality, and every time those gaps are filled, the body remembers. It is as if the clock rolls back, not because time has changed, but because the chemistry has been restored. So hear me clearly: weak erections are not a death sentence of aging. They are missing pieces, pieces you can replace. Once you understand that, everything changes. And now the question becomes, which pieces matter most and how do you restore them? Let us begin with the first and most powerful one, the hidden hormone that quietly governs a man's vitality: vitamin D3. When most men hear the words vitamin D, they think about bones, sunlight, or maybe a quick mention from their doctor about immune health. But in my decades of practice, I've come to see vitamin D3 as something far more powerful than a simple vitamin. It behaves almost like a hidden hormone, quietly but decisively governing a man's energy, his mood, his muscle strength, and yes, his performance in the bedroom. What many men don't realize is that vitamin D3 shares the very same pathways your testes use to generate testosterone. Think of it as a master key that fits into the locks of your masculinity. When your vitamin D3 levels are low, it's as though someone has turned the volume dial of your manhood all the way down. You're still there, the machinery still exists, but the signal is muted. I once met Walter, a 70-year-old grandfather and retired machinist. He came to my clinic not only frustrated about intimacy but burdened by fatigue that followed him every day. His muscles had shrunk, his belly had grown soft, and he confessed he sometimes avoided mirrors because he didn't recognize the man staring back. He told me, "Doc, I'm still alive, but I don't feel alive." When we tested his vitamin D3, the levels were nearly non-existent. He was shocked. "I play golf 3 times a week. I'm outside plenty," he said, but here's the catch. As we age, our skin loses much of its ability to convert sunlight into vitamin D3. Even hours outdoors can still leave an older man deficient. Once Walter began supplementation with careful timing and consistent dosing, the change was remarkable. His belly fat began to fade, his energy returned, and within a month he told me with a boyish grin that his mornings had come back to life. His wife noticed the difference. But more importantly, Walter himself felt a surge of confidence he thought had been stolen by time. That is the quiet, almost miraculous power of vitamin D3. It doesn't merely strengthen bones, it whispers a message to your body: you are still capable, you are still alive, you are still a man. Without it, testosterone stumbles, blood flow weakens, and decline feels inevitable. With it, the tide turns, and often faster than most expect. But I must emphasize something crucial: vitamin D3 cannot stand alone. Many men make the mistake of thinking a single nutrient will save them. It won't. Just like an engine needs both a key and a spark, your body requires a partner nutrient to ignite the testosterone process. That partner is zinc. Without zinc, even the strongest vitamin D3 plan will stall. So before you rush to the store for vitamin D, let me show you why zinc is the ignition switch your body depends on, and how the two together can restore masculinity in ways that neither could achieve alone. If vitamin D3 is the key that slides into the lock, zinc is the spark that ignites the engine. Without zinc, the entire process of testosterone production grinds almost to a halt. I tell my patients this simple truth again and again: zinc is not optional, it is the fuel in the tank. You can have the best car on the block, the finest engine, the shiniest paint, but if there's no gas, you're not going anywhere. And here is what troubles me most. When I run blood panels on men in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, I almost always see zinc deficiency. It's everywhere, hidden in plain sight. These men are not weak, lazy, or broken. They are simply running on empty. I remember Samuel, a 72-year-old retired truck driver. He had been taking vitamin D faithfully for years, waiting for the promises of renewed vitality, yet nothing changed. He came into my office hunched, shoulders heavy with defeat. His voice cracked as he said, "Doc, maybe this is just who I am now." But when I checked his labs, the truth was clear. His zinc levels were dangerously low. His body had been trying to run without a drop of fuel. We started him on a simple, targeted zinc routine, no complicated schedules, no miracle pills, just consistent supplementation at night. Within weeks, Samuel's posture changed. He walked taller, spoke louder, and even carried a spark in his eyes. His wife told me with a smile that spoke volumes, "Doctor, I have my husband back." That is what zinc does. It allows the pituitary gland to release luteinizing hormone, the critical signal that tells the testes produce testosterone. Without zinc, that signal is faint, like a radio station playing in the background, barely audible. With zinc, the volume turns up. The message comes through loud and clear. Suddenly, the machinery of masculinity hums again. Erections firm up, energy rises, and mood steadies. And zinc's impact doesn't stop there. I've seen zinc calm the symptoms of enlarged prostates, reduce the nightly trips to the bathroom, and sharpen mental focus in men who thought their memory was slipping away. Many of these men tell me it's not just their strength that returns, but their dignity. They no longer feel powerless against time, they feel like men again. Now, here's the beauty. When zinc and vitamin D3 are paired, the results are magnified. They work in harmony, each amplifying the other's effect. Where vitamin D3 lays the foundation, zinc flips the ignition switch. The synergy doesn't just restore erections, it restores life. But many men ask me, "Doc, can't I just eat the right foods and get enough zinc?" It's a fair question and one I'll answer in detail next. Because the truth is, food alone is rarely enough to solve the crisis of deficiency, especially in men over 60. One of the most common questions I hear from men is this: "Doc, why can't I just eat better? If vitamin D and zinc are so important, can't I simply get them from food?" It's an honest question, and if you were 30 years old, I might be able to answer yes. But for men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, food alone almost never bridges the gap. Let's begin with vitamin D3. The richest natural source of this nutrient isn't steak, fish, or vegetables, it's the sun. When sunlight strikes your skin, your body converts it into vitamin D3. But here's the problem. As we age, our skin loses much of its efficiency. A man in his 70s may produce less than half the vitamin D3 from the same sunlight he enjoyed in his 30s. Even men who golf several times a week or spend hours in the garden are often severely deficient. Add in the fact that many of you wisely cover your skin with clothing and sunscreen to protect against damage, and your levels can plummet further. Foods like fatty fish or fortified milk contain some vitamin D, but the amounts are small, far too small to restore balance once deficiency has set in. Now let's look at zinc. Yes, oysters, beef, and pumpkin seeds contain it. But modern farming has created a new challenge. Our soils today are not the soils of your youth. Decades of over-farming and depletion mean that vegetables and grains contain only a fraction of the minerals they once held. Even if you eat carefully, the zinc content is often far too low to maintain optimal testosterone function. I recall a patient named Charles, a 68-year-old retired engineer. He was proud of his diet. Lots of lean meats, vegetables, and whole grains. He thought he was covering every base. Yet when we tested his labs, his zinc levels were shockingly low. His body simply wasn't absorbing enough from food. And as we age, digestion itself becomes less efficient. The stomach acid and enzymes needed to extract minerals weaken over time. Even the best diet can leave your tank half empty. This is why supplementation isn't about replacing food. It's about filling the gaps that diet and age inevitably create. Think of it as scaffolding that supports a building already standing. Nutrition provides the walls, the structure. Supplements provide the reinforcement that prevents collapse. Without that reinforcement, too many men remain trapped in deficiency. They eat right, they exercise, they do everything by the book, and still they wonder why nothing changes. But once the gaps are filled, the results can feel almost miraculous. Strength returns, energy lifts, and intimacy revives. Now, even with the right supplements, there's a second piece most men overlook: timing, because the truth is your body is not a machine that runs the same way every hour of the day. It has rhythms, repair cycles, and hormonal surges. Respect those rhythms and you'll unlock results far faster. Ignore them and you'll keep spinning your wheels. That is why the nighttime advantage matters so deeply, and why we must turn there next. Gentlemen, one of the most overlooked truths in men's health is this: timing can be just as important as the supplement itself. Too many men focus on what they take but never stop to consider when they take it. Yet your body is not a machine that functions identically at every hour. It runs on rhythms, intricate cycles of repair and renewal that either work with you or against you depending on when you supply the raw materials. This is especially true for testosterone. During the day, your body is busy handling movement, digestion, and stress. Your resources are scattered, but at night, something remarkable happens. Between about 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., your body enters a deep repair phase. Growth hormone pulses, blood vessels regenerate, and testosterone production quietly peaks. It is as though a repair crew shows up after hours, ready to restore what daily life has worn down. If you give your body the right tools during this window, the results multiply. If you don't, the opportunity slips away. That is why I urge men to take vitamin D3 with their evening meal and zinc a couple of hours before bed. Vitamin D3 is fat-soluble, which means it needs dietary fat to be absorbed. Take it on an empty stomach and you're wasting it. But if you swallow it with a dinner that includes salmon, olive oil, or even half an avocado, it glides into your bloodstream, ready to be deployed when the repair crew arrives. Then comes zinc. Just before bed, zinc acts like the ignition switch sitting in your system, waiting for the luteinizing signals your brain sends during sleep. With zinc present, the message is clear and strong: produce testosterone now. Without zinc, the message is faint, like a letter lost in the mail. I remember Robert, a 68-year-old former high school coach. He told me he had been taking vitamin D3 faithfully for years but never noticed a change. When I asked him when he took it, he shrugged and said, "With my coffee in the morning." That was the problem. By the time his body needed it most, the vitamin was long gone. When we adjusted his routine, vitamin D3 with dinner, zinc before bed, the difference was immediate. Within 3 weeks, Robert called me with a mixture of pride and relief in his voice. "Doc, I feel like my body is mine again." That is the nighttime advantage. It's not just what you take, it's when you take it. Respect your body's rhythm and you'll see results sooner and deeper. Ignore it and you may keep wondering why nothing changes, no matter how much you swallow. But there is another reason men often fail to see progress: small but critical mistakes. Even with the right supplements at the right time, one misstep can sabotage everything. Let's take a closer look at those mistakes so you can avoid them and protect your progress. Over the years, I've met countless men who tell me the same story. They tried supplements, they bought the bottles, they followed the labels, and nothing happened. Frustrated, they throw up their hands and conclude that vitamins are a scam. But here's the truth I've seen again and again: it's not the supplements that fail, it's the way they are taken. Small mistakes, repeated night after night, can quietly erase every ounce of progress. The first mistake is taking vitamin D3 on an empty stomach. This nutrient is fat-soluble, which means it needs dietary fat to be absorbed. If you swallow it with only water, your body treats it like a visitor passing through town without ever stopping in. I recall one patient, Edward, a 66-year-old retired accountant. He proudly told me he had been on vitamin D3 for years but felt no change. When I asked when he took it, he said, "First thing in the morning with black coffee." That was his downfall. Once we switched his dose to dinner alongside salmon and olive oil, the difference was night and day. Within weeks, his energy lifted, his mornings were stronger, and he no longer doubted the supplement's value. The second mistake is ignoring zinc. Many men believe vitamin D3 alone will do the heavy lifting. It won't. Without zinc, the hormonal message from your brain to your testes is weak and muddled. You can be stepping on the gas pedal, but if the fuel tank is empty, the car still won't move. Zinc is the partner nutrient that turns the whisper into a command, and too many men overlook it. The third mistake is mismanaging dosage. Some men take too little, expecting miracles from crumbs. Others take too much, creating new imbalances that leave them with stomach upset or interfere with minerals like copper. Precision matters. The sweet spot is not about excess. It's about balance. The fourth mistake is inconsistency. Health isn't built on random effort, it's built on habits. Skipping days or switching routines constantly keeps your body off balance. Consistency is the quiet force that transforms potential into reality. These mistakes, though small, are costly. They convince men that nothing works when in truth the method was broken, not the body. Once these errors are corrected, the results often feel dramatic, sometimes shockingly so. But even beyond these errors, there is another layer of sabotage. Supplements that seem harmless but are actually disruptive when taken at night. Many men unknowingly block their own progress by swallowing the wrong capsules before bed, and until they stop, the cycle of frustration continues. That is why we must turn to the next critical question, which supplements should never, under any circumstances, be taken at night. Gentlemen, sometimes progress isn't stolen by what you fail to take, but by what you do take at the wrong time. I cannot count the number of patients who sat across from me bewildered and discouraged saying, "Doc, I'm doing everything right. I'm taking my vitamin D, I'm taking zinc, but nothing's changing." And when I ask about their nighttime routine, the problem becomes obvious. They are swallowing supplements that quietly sabotage their hormones, disrupt their sleep, and undo the very progress they've been chasing. The first culprit is vitamin C. Don't misunderstand me, vitamin C is excellent for immunity, tissue repair, and general health. But at night it works against you. High doses of vitamin C can interfere with melatonin production and stimulate your nervous system just enough to keep you from reaching the deep sleep your body requires. I remember George, a 70-year-old retired steelworker. He swore he couldn't sleep more than 3 hours at a time. He thought it was just age catching up. But when I reviewed his regimen, I discovered he was taking 1,000 mg of vitamin C right before bed. We shifted that dose to the morning, and within a week his sleep improved, his energy in the mornings returned, and his wife told me she noticed his mood brightening for the first time in years. The second saboteur is B-complex vitamins. These nutrients act like natural energizers, flipping the switch on your nervous system. They are wonderful in the morning, fueling focus and clarity for the day. But take them at night, and you are revving the engine when the body should be shutting down. I've seen men toss and turn, restless, convinced something deeper was wrong, only to discover their nighttime multivitamin was the hidden culprit. Move those B vitamins to breakfast, and suddenly the body finds its rhythm again. The third and often hidden enemy is caffeine. It sneaks into metabolism boosters, fat-burning pills, and even pre-workout supplements. Many men don't realize that a capsule labeled energy support can contain as much caffeine as a cup of coffee. Take it in the evening and deep sleep is strangled. Testosterone production, which peaks during the night, is blunted. I once reviewed the supplement cabinet of a patient who was faithfully on vitamin D3 and zinc, but saw no improvement. Buried in the list was a capsule marketed as a nighttime metabolism enhancer. It contained caffeine. Cutting it out was the turning point. This is why I tell every man, the clock is just as important as the capsule. Take the right supplement at the wrong time and you will block your own progress. But when you align with your body's natural rhythm, everything begins to work together. Sleep deepens, hormones balance, and vitality rises. And now, before we move on, I want to do something different. For years, I've said the best lessons often come from the voices of men themselves, the questions they ask, the doubts they raise, the challenges they throw at me. That's why next, I'll take a moment to respond directly to your letters and comments. Gentlemen, one of the privileges of this work is hearing directly from you. Your letters, your comments, and even your skeptical questions are proof that you're listening, thinking, and engaging. So tonight, before moving further, let me pause and respond to a few of the most common and sometimes the most surprising questions I receive. Question 1. Dr. Prescott, isn't this just aging? Aren't we supposed to accept it and stop trying to fight nature? My answer is simple: no, aging is inevitable, but decline is not. Weak erections, fatigue, and fading strength are not a law of nature. They are signs of missing fuel. I've treated thousands of men, and when deficiencies are corrected, their bodies remember how to perform. Accepting age is wise, surrendering vitality is not. Question 2. Doc, I've been taking vitamin D3 for years and still feel no change. What makes your advice different? I hear this often. Well, the difference is in the details: timing, absorption, and pairing. If you take vitamin D3 with coffee in the morning, most of it is wasted. If you take it without fat, your body can't use it. And if you don't pair it with zinc, the signal to produce testosterone is muted. When those small details are corrected, the results come. Question 3. Doc, I read online that zinc can upset the stomach. Isn't supplementation risky? Like any nutrient, too much zinc can cause problems, but balance is the key. The right dosage taken consistently is not dangerous, it is essential. I guide my patients carefully and the results speak for themselves. Zinc doesn't break men down, it builds them back up. Question 4. Dr. Prescott, my buddy said all supplements are snake oil. He laughed when I told him I was trying this. What do you say to men like him? I smile because I've met that buddy many times before. Often he's the same man who comes to me quietly 6 months later, ashamed to admit he was wrong. Skepticism is healthy, cynicism is not. Science has proven the role of vitamin D3 and zinc in testosterone and circulation. The data is clear, and when men take action, the changes are real enough to silence even the loudest critics. Question 5, Doc, are you just telling us to take pills instead of eating real food? Not at all. Food is the foundation. But food alone isn't enough anymore, not with depleted soils, weaker digestion, and lower sunlight conversion. Supplements don't replace food, they reinforce it. It's scaffolding, not a shortcut. Question 6, a favorite from a comment thread. Doc, if I hit like on your video, will my testosterone rise immediately? Gentlemen, if only it worked that way, but here's the truth, pressing like won't raise testosterone, but it will raise awareness. It helps more men find these lessons, and it tells me you're listening. And if you want a blessing from me for pressing that button, here it is. May your mornings be strong, your nights be restful, and your confidence unshakable. These are just a few of the voices I hear daily, and to every man who writes in, whether with hope, doubt, or humor, I thank you, because your questions shape this conversation and prove that none of us are walking this road alone. Now, let's turn from the doubts and questions to the promise of results. What can you actually expect to feel when you do this right? That's where we go next. When a man finally gives his body the raw materials it has been missing, the results can feel almost like a rebirth. I've watched proud men in their 60s and 70s struggle to describe the transformation because words don't always capture what it feels like to wake up strong again after years of weakness. The first and most immediate benefit many men report is the return of morning vitality. What was once a distant memory suddenly greets them again, natural and firm as though their bodies had been reminded of an old rhythm. It's not forced, it's not artificial, it's the body rediscovering its own design. The second change is energy that lasts through the day. Instead of dragging through mornings with heavy eyelids or leaning on coffee just to stay awake, men tell me they feel lighter, sharper, more motivated. One patient, Franklin, a 70-year-old retired teacher, described it this way: Doc, I didn't just get my erections back, I got my mornings back. He explained how he used to wake up already tired, his day a blur of fatigue. After 6 weeks on the nighttime routine of vitamin D3 and zinc, he said the fog lifted. His wife told me she noticed it first in his smile, then in his step, and finally in their intimacy. Another benefit is improved circulation, which protects the heart and energizes every muscle. Men who thought exercise was pointless begin to see their bodies respond again. Their walks feel easier, their grip stronger, their recovery quicker. And with better circulation comes another gift, a calmer, more reliable prostate. Many of my patients report fewer nighttime trips to the bathroom, deeper sleep, and a new sense of peace they hadn't enjoyed in years. Then there's mental clarity. Men often underestimate how closely testosterone and nutrients tie to the mind. When deficiencies are corrected, mood steadies, the quiet cloud of depression lifts, focus sharpens. It's not unusual for a man to tell me he feels as though someone turned the lights back on in his brain. But perhaps the greatest benefit isn't physical, it's emotional. It's the dignity of sitting at the dinner table, looking across at your wife and knowing she still sees the man she married. It's holding your head high because deep down, you know your body hasn't abandoned you. That sense of confidence ripples into every part of life: work, family, faith, and friendships. These are the benefits you can expect when deficiencies are corrected. They are not vanity metrics. They are markers of dignity, health, and resilience. But of course, not every man experiences these results right away. Too often, hidden mistakes sabotage their progress. And just as important, stories from real men who walked this road and found their lives transformed speak louder than theory. That's where we turn next. Science and numbers are essential, but sometimes what speaks loudest are the stories of real men, men who walked into my office with their heads low and left standing taller. These stories are not about pills or protocols. They are about marriages restored, dignity reclaimed, and men rediscovering parts of themselves they thought were gone forever. I remember Edward, a 74-year-old retired builder. When he first came to me, he admitted he hadn't experienced a full, firm erection in more than 3 years. The humiliation had grown so sharp that he stopped even trying with his wife. He said, "Doc, I'd rather avoid intimacy than face the shame of failure." He had tried prescription medications, but the side effects left him dizzy and defeated. When we ran his labs, the picture was clear. testosterone below normal, vitamin D nearly gone, and zinc depleted. I placed him on a simple nighttime routine: vitamin D3 with dinner, zinc 2 hours before bed. 6 weeks later, Edward returned with tears in his eyes. "Doc, it worked. I didn't believe it, but it worked." Not only had his erections returned, but so had his energy and his confidence. His wife later wrote me a note: "You didn't just give me my husband back, you gave us our marriage back." Then there was Robert, 72, a retired postal worker. He told me he hadn't felt a morning erection in over a decade. To him, that part of life was finished, a chapter closed. After just 4 weeks on the protocol, he walked into my office grinning like a schoolboy. "Doc," he said, "I woke up and couldn't believe it. It felt like I was 40 again." His wife, who later spoke to me privately, said with a smile that only a long-married woman can give, "Thank you, I have my husband back." That simple sentence reminded me why I continue this work after so many years. And I'll never forget Thomas, an 81-year-old widower who came to me not asking for miracles, only hoping to feel alive again. His joints ached, his stamina was gone, and intimacy was a memory. "Doc," he said, "I just want to walk through my garden without stopping to catch my breath." Within 2 months of correcting his deficiencies, Thomas wasn't just walking. He was thriving. He was tending to his roses, laughing with neighbors, and to his own surprise, reconnecting with a new companion in ways he never thought possible at his age. His words to me were simple but unforgettable. "Doc, I feel like I have my life back." These stories prove a critical truth: age is not the enemy, deficiency is. When you restore what the body has been missing, it often remembers how to perform as if the years had been rolled back. But some men hesitate, not because they doubt the science, but because they are already on medications. They wonder, can I safely add vitamin D3 and zinc to my routine? That is an important question, and one I hear every week. Let's answer it next. Gentlemen, this is a question I hear almost every single week. "Doc, I'm already on a list of prescriptions. Can I safely add vitamin D3 and zinc to my routine?" The concern is real. By the time a man reaches his 60s or 70s, it's common to have bottles lined up on the counter: pills for blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, maybe even heart disease. The thought of adding one more thing can feel overwhelming. Let me reassure you. For the vast majority of men, vitamin D3 and zinc are not only safe alongside common medications, they are often essential. They are not foreign chemicals layered on top of your prescriptions. They are nutrients, building blocks your body is already designed to use. Think of them as restoring bricks to a wall that has been slowly eroded over decades. I'll give you an example. Charles, a 68-year-old retired engineer, came into my office with a list of prescriptions so long he joked, "Doc, I feel like a walking pharmacy." He was on statins for cholesterol, metformin for blood sugar, and a beta blocker for blood pressure. He told me flatly, "I can't imagine adding anything else." But when we tested his blood, his vitamin D was at the bottom of the scale and his zinc was far below optimal. With his cardiologist's approval, we added a simple nighttime routine: vitamin D3 with dinner, zinc before bed. The results were powerful. Within weeks, Charles noticed his energy rising, his intimacy returning, and even his mood lifting. His prescriptions remained necessary, but his quality of life soared. Correcting deficiencies gave his body the foundation it needed to respond better to the treatments he was already on. There's another truth many men overlook. Medications themselves can deplete nutrients. Statins, for example, have been shown to lower testosterone levels in men. Certain blood pressure drugs alter mineral balance. Diabetes medications can drain vitamins over time. That means men who depend on these prescriptions are often even more vulnerable to deficiency. Supplementation in these cases is not just safe, it's critical. Now, of course, I encourage every man to speak with his physician before changing his routine. Safety always comes first. But in more than 30 years of practice, I can count on one hand the number of times vitamin D3 and zinc posed a genuine conflict. Far more often, they acted as allies, working quietly in the background, strengthening the body so it could stand taller and recover faster. So if you've been holding back out of fear, know this: your medications do not have to hold you hostage. You can support your body with the very nutrients it has been craving, and in doing so, you may discover a level of vitality you thought your prescriptions had erased forever. Now that we've addressed this concern, let's bring everything together. Because the heart of this message, the truth about aging, deficiency, and the possibility of revival, deserves to be spoken clearly and directly in conclusion. Gentlemen, let's bring everything we've discussed together because I know this has been a lot to take in. For decades, men have been told that fatigue, weak erections, fading drive, and declining confidence are simply the price of getting older. But I want you to leave here with a new conviction: that narrative is false. Age is not the enemy. Deficiency is. Weak erections are not a punishment for the birthdays you've celebrated. They are signals, red flags from your body telling you it's running low on the fuel it needs. And when you restore that fuel, when you replace what's missing, the body often remembers how to perform in ways that feel almost miraculous. We began by clearing away the confusion around magnesium, a supplement often advertised as a cure-all. The truth is it doesn't revive masculinity. Instead, two simple nutrients, vitamin D3 and zinc, hold the key. When taken at the right time, in alignment with your body's natural rhythms, they reignite testosterone, restore circulation, and bring back vitality. You've heard the science. You've heard the mistakes to avoid, like taking vitamin D3 on an empty stomach or ignoring zinc altogether. You've learned which supplements to never take at night: vitamin C, B complex, and anything laced with caffeine. We've talked about why food alone isn't enough in today's world, and why supplementation acts as the bridge between nutrition and performance. We've faced the reality that medications may be necessary, but they don't have to steal your vitality. Vitamin D3 and zinc are not another burden on your prescription list. They are allies that strengthen your foundation. And above all, you've heard the stories: Edward, Robert, Thomas, Charles, Franklin, men just like you, men who thought their best years were gone and who discovered, through this nighttime protocol, that their bodies still remembered. Their smiles, their words, their marriages restored. These are not theories. They are living proof that it's not too late. So here's the heart of the message, spoken plainly: your manhood has not vanished. It has been waiting quietly, patiently for you to give your body the missing pieces. Tonight, with two simple steps, you can begin a new chapter of strength, confidence, and dignity. Now, before you go, I ask something simple of you. Press the like button, not for me, but as a promise to yourself. When you do, my blessing for you is this: may your mornings be strong, your nights be peaceful, and your spirit unshaken by fear of age. Subscribe to this channel so that each week we can walk this road together, lesson by lesson, one step closer to the man you still are. And type in the comments, tell me your thoughts, your doubts, your victories. I read everyone because this isn't just my work, it's our conversation. Gentlemen, it is not too late. The man you thought was gone is still right here, waiting to rise again. Give your body the tools, respect its rhythm, and watch as life answers back with strength. This is your time, take it.